Finally, we got to the sea. Finally, it happened. Today we will shoot how we cook fish, Khamsi tava. And I'm wondering, we came here and I remembered one interesting Crimean Tatar saying. That is, until you get your feet wet, you won't catch a fish. This is our folklore. But for some reason, some people think that the Crimean Tatars did not eat fish. How can you not eat fish while living on the sea? There are unique people, but it's like a different story. And there is another good saying, when they caught fish Khamsa, but she doesn't want to go to the pan, and she supposedly hums a fish, says fish. Translated from Rat Tatar, it sounds something like this. That is, she has very small scales in this fish, and she says, whoever catches me, let there be no such people who will eat me, let him always be hungry. And who sells, let him earn a penny, just poor. It's a fish thought so. Here, and today we came here to shoot a program about fish. This is a great place, this place. And we're going to shoot a place called Alibaba. Everything is ready for us there, and we are going there. And it smells like the sea. Why are we here today? We came here on purpose. Why did you come from Simferopol? In order to show you near the sea how we cook Khamsi tava. But I'm sure many people know this. But there are people who don't seem to know. Well, here it is for them. And what do we need to make Khamsi tava? Well, it's clear that we need fish. It's clear that we need tava. The only thing we need is a plate or some kind of lid that will go into the pan. It's important. I'll show you why. So, for the preparation of this not complicated, simple, but very tasty dish, we need, here is such coarse cornmeal or finely ground groats. I don't know what it's called correctly. Here's paprika, salt, black pepper, and I have olive oil, but in principle, vegetable oil can be there. Well, or someone can fry on lamb fat. We have this oil. I have prepared the fish in advance so that you will not be bothered with this matter here. Tell these girls that. I need a piece of dry dough. The more the better, on a rolling pin. And tomorrow I'll tell you which one to marry. Well, then the guy went to one girl and said so and so. That's how my mother said. I need a piece of higher dough from a rolling pin. And a girl like that with long nails, beautiful curly hair, painted, ran, and brought him a lot of dry dough. For those who do not trust this, you can still clean it by hand. But here everything is clean, in this way, with such not cunning, simple movements, we clean all our 1.5 kilograms of fish. It's easy, it's fast. It actually seems like a long time, but it's very fast. So I added paprika. We need paprika for color, and for taste in general. Paprika is fish. Then it turns out so golden. So, I don't like it a little. I'll remove this. Water will then be needed until it is needed. We don't need this fish anymore. I have already shown you everything. My conscience is clear. So now the salt. Well, how much salt? As usual, to taste. Then you can still salt on top, black pepper. I usually add a lot. Well, everyone likes it. Whoever doesn't like it simply disappears. And we are persistent. We enjoy the taste. That's it. And look, it is important not to forget that we cleaned the fish, washed it. It should not be very wet, very wet. Therefore, we completely drain this water into the water, because we do not need a lot of water. We have a frying pan. It is interesting that today we are talking about fish as some kind of unusual dish. But before the people who lived on the shore, it was, well, part of their life, mostly on the shore. Who lived? They were engaged in fish, caught it, sold it. There is such an interesting story. By the way, the story of a family that lived near the sea, where my wife's grandmother lived near the sea. So they lived by this. They had boats. They probably had people. Since people were engaged in fishing, there were barrels on the shore. And here they are at night. Interestingly, they went out to sea at night. So, the lanterns were hung on the boat, they floated out, and there were such nets thrown over them. Today, these nets are caught all over the world. Only we do not see it, because it is no longer there. Fish are caught today in a different way in the Crimea. That's when it was like that. They threw a net. The fish swam into the light, the net was thrown, the fish was pulled out. This means, they say, that from 200 to 500 kilograms it was possible to immediately catch fish in one net. So, they tied it all up when they caught it. The boats approached the shore and already pulled out this fish in buckets. On the shore stood barrels, and now they put it there. So, they released this network into these barrels, or salted it, or sold it right away. Since we have it in the 30s, then these people, because they were rich, of course, were called kulaks and sent to the Urals. And this grandmother, who told this story, she tells them when they were exiled to the Urals, like kulaks. Here is the last catch where one of the last was so rich that they sold this fish, and this money allowed them to live, not to die of hunger there, in exile. But then they returned and lived in Feodosia until the next expulsion. In short, the most interesting thing is that we are a fish. Look, it is already so beautiful now we have it. And now we have oil. A little bit, a lot is not needed. Our surface must be covered with oil. We take several fish at once in tails. Tails towards the center. And to be beautiful. This is very important beauty in our business, to be beautiful. You can, of course, immediately lay it with tails to the center. I usually do it in batches. You take. And so, first, 4. We get such a cross in a circle. We don't forget about the ornament so that the circle is even, with tails towards the center. Look, please note that we must wash the fish in such a way. Cook it so that it remains as beautiful as possible so as not to break it. Well, it's clear that I'm talking about this. But it's like housewives. When they cook, they always follow these rules. But just in case, I must say so, because not only older housewives are listening to us, but also young people, I hope. So in a circle, carefully add more. I do so. Well, it can be done in different ways. You can add flour all at once. You can gradually. Doesn't matter. The main thing is that there is not a lot of water. We all laid it so tightly in a layer. Fish to fish. The most interesting thing is that now there are many people who are exploring culture. Researcher Gyuri Bagarov, he can be called an ethnographer. Well, in fact, he is a doctor, a hereditary doctor, and he has a lot of information about our culture. That's when it so happened that I started working in the kitchen. We began to look for information and the first names of those who pop up in our memory when we talk about food, about our dishes and our culture. Well, of course, that the owners of restaurants or who are engaged in cooking. Yes, but there are still people who study and do not sit at home with their knowledge and spread this knowledge. And we have the opportunity to take them. See how beautiful it turned out. This is also very important. And I want to note about this corn flour. It's not without reason that corn flour, because corn flour, unlike wheat flour, it gives a lot well. It's clear that it tastes good, like flour itself has its own taste, but it still creates such a golden crust and seal this fish with us outside. Here is the crust, and the fish then turns out as a result very juicy and tasty. If someone fried fish, he knows that you rolled it in flour later. Well, it smokes, as it were. Corn flour does not have this. Now we don't need fire, medium fire, big fire. Our frying pan is not thick. In Turkey, if you take a frying pan for this, they have a thin one. They fry at home and fry for no more than 5 minutes. One side. Here on the street, we will now look outside. We will now look, it all depends, but we will see. But the wind is cold, the sea. Therefore, you need to enjoy what you have. That's how things went. We have fish for a couple of pans here. I poured a little more oil around the edges. You don't need much oil. The whole process has begun. But you need to take into account that the wind is not very warm here. Therefore, I slightly increased the temperature. But this does not bother us. We will still do it well and beautifully, and it will be very tasty. I'll put all this fish here for now. Let it give up its water now. We'll fry it later too. I remind you again, here we have cornmeal, coarse grinding, red, black pepper, but paprika for color is needed for smell. Well, it smells delicious. Look, no more than 5 minutes. It is not necessary to fry strongly, because we must save. Fish, yes, it should be crunchy, but we should not burn it. This fish was highly valued 100 years ago. Yes, we are talking about those times when the Crimean Tatars lived in their beautiful country, near the sea at home. Well, we still live at home, each in his own house, when people lived around on the south bank. For them, it was an ordinary meal, and when they approached the shores, their fish season began. They caught it a lot and salted it for the winter. Well, also for the winter, they usually salted the housewives and salted the meat in barrels. Everything was salted, everything was in barrels. I've heard the story that the South Coast people said, well, there is such a thing as a lamb is sacrificed in the process of sacrifice. And allegedly the Southern Coast said, listen, but fish, this is also a very valuable, tasty fish. Is it possible to do this not with a lamb, but with a fish? Sacrificing fish. Well, I think that it was invented about the South Coast, although, maybe, because it is very tasty. So we check, but now everything is baked in one pancake. We need to drain the oil immediately. I poured it here, enough, thanks to Eldar Husinov. He does such beautiful things. We have where to pour the oil. And here our plate came in handy again. For Khamsi tava, it means that there was a special utensil for preparing this dish, a frying pan made of thin metal, made to heat everything quickly, because one side and the lid that goes inside do not fry for a long time. This is how we cover it. Now we have it all fried. Downside. Covered with a lid. Press down and pour out the oil. Can you see? The oil was poured out. Then we turn it over so that we are not afraid. And again into the pan, spilled, a little spilled. And oops, that's it, no one saw anything. Now we return the oil to its place. The oil was returned. Now everything combined: the smell of the sea, the smell of fried fish. So do not forget to move it so that it does not stick. In general, khamsi with bones is eaten. In principle, her bones are so small and soft that she was eaten right with the bones. And it was believed that it is very useful. Here is the skin, the bones. And today we are here. This means that a person works here. He is from the south coast, and he says that his mother took this fish before she washed it. And in the hall, along with the ashes of soap, and then they washed it all away in order to remove all unnecessary and dirt. I heard it for the first time. Now, if you talk to this person, then he will tell a lot of interesting things over a cup of coffee. And for him to tell a lot of things, he needs to fry half a lamb, by the way. Do not forget, this is how we check that it does not stick. It is very important. Now, when we turn it over, it should be solid. You know, it's really easy. Literally within 30 minutes you can cook a very tasty, hearty lunch, where my specially trained assistant is. We have such a large, beautiful dish that Husinov Eldar gave us especially for this program. With his golden hands, he prepared such a beautiful dish. Here I turn it over. It says here who did it. Now we are going to use it. Thanks to our masters and golden hands, today we have the opportunity to use our traditional, cold, Eldar almost burned out because of you. Cover the oil and drain again. I imagine how the Eldar will laugh at this moment. We drain all the oil in a beautiful movement. Here, everything is easy and simple. How delicious. So, well, we still have it, so we need it. Where is my kitchen? I did not take the whole kitchen, because we traveled far and did not take everything with us. Here you have to take it. I'll take this aside. I'll put this somewhere here. And now it is not necessary. We are making a second frying pan, so this is here. This is being manipulated here. A little oil. One is ready. Now we will quickly make another frying pan. Yes, I pour oil. And then I will tell you how it is eaten. I myself will show you what it is eaten with. So here is the order of installation. We first exactly to the center with ponytails. It must be beautiful. If it's not beautiful to cook, then different associations arise. Others, when it's beautiful, then the person is ready in advance. He looked, he liked it. He is already looking forward to it. And when the dish is not beautiful to take, mix it all up, imagine, and the appetite will disappear. So finished. But beauty is a terrible force. I poured oil for the first time and still add oil. absolutely self-sufficient, very nutritious, tasty dish. In general, the side dish here, as it were, is not even needed. In order not to spoil the taste, you need to enjoy our dish. If we now start adding mashed potatoes, rice, something else here, well, why? We kind of came here to feel the taste of the sea, the taste of this fish. Well, actually, at home too. When you eat this fish before in our family, when we cooked, that's all. There was nothing superfluous. A little fish. By the way, some kind of apple cider vinegar. Lemon, we have lemon, cucumbers, tomatoes, herbs, and that's it. So we enjoy fish. This is how we take a lemon. So, if you have treated it with lemon, now you can try it. That exciting moment has come. Now exactly in a minute and a half we will raise this. But in general it is eaten with the hands. So you take it by the tail. The meat turned out very tender. By the way, I was recently in Turkey, and then they sell fish every 100 meters, very beautiful, different fish. And there, then, lies the fish from the Black Sea, the Black Sea fish. Fish of the Bosphorus Strait and the White Sea, that is, the Mediterranean Sea. And the most expensive, what do you think? Of course, the Black Sea fish was the most expensive. When I took it, you go into their store and immediately everything for this dish is sold from lemon to a frying pan. Well, fish, respectively, you can take dill, a couple more fish by the tail and enjoy the result of our work. But honestly, very tasty. We thank this establishment called Alibaba. We thank them for the warm welcome. We've done great here. The fish turned out delicious. Ours. Not enough, of course, for our company. But I think everyone will be happy. And today we say goodbye. Thanks for watching us. We are also watching you, what you write. We all read, but today it is very cold to answer. We will reply next time. I promise you again. In short, I am very pleased with today's result. Now we sit down with this dish. The kids are already hungry. Bon appetit.